thinking about all day. You know, I don't know how many months ago it was that I legitimately left. I left. And I don't want anybody to think I was giving up on them. I was just really pissed off. I kind of want everybody to know that I'm still really pissed off. But I'm also glad I stayed. I hope you all had fun.
You're the man, punk!
You coming up right here in Chicago, and you got so much place out. And for everybody in the back, I thank you for selling this place out because I still don't miss as much as you do. So to me, the real star of the show, when we come here, is always Chicago.
I think this is fake.
You can't say that.
I can say that.
Wrestling's not fake!
It's still real to me, damn it.
The unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary. This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary.
You are listening to Marks on Commentary. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
And the crinkling potato chip bag is my fiance in the background planning our wedding. You probably can't hear her because she's not leaning into the microphone on the laptop.
Good evening.
You saying good evening to you. Yeah, all you hear is the crinkling of the potato chip bag once again.
If this time it's not Eddie's fault.
You would know the pain that I'm going through, Jason, right now. Maybe some of our listeners. Wedding planning.
Mm-hmm.
We went from having one idea to now where we've had to like break it down by time and decide how are we gonna do this.
By time? What do you?
Well, like, you know, how long's the reception? How long's cocktail hour?
Oh wow, you're going hardcore.
I have no choice, sir.
You just do what they tell you.
Exactly.
Nod your head. That's a great idea, honey.
Are you talking to her? Yeah.
I'm giving you advice to take and process and put it out there when you need it.
Wait, are you showing me dollars? Jason, I'm gonna have a heart attack. All right, this brings me into my next topic. Eddie's wedding planning turns into buy T-shirts. 11,850. Can we start a Kickstarter account? Plan Eddie and Jason's wedding. Mark's on wedding planning. Do we know anyone who listens to the show that plans weddings?
The planning's not the problem.
It's the affording.
Yeah.
Hey, I locked out. Well, you locked out when we won't get into that. That's personal. It's personal business on our end. This is a wrestling show. Let's get into wrestling. Jason, well, we'll start off with two aspects. Jason and I, there's 4 people out there that own Marks on Commentary T-shirts.
3 people.
Not Jason or I.
3 people.
Oh, 3 people. Did I make up a 4th?
No. Somebody bought 2.
Someone bought 2. Okay. Can we just give gratitude to him? I was going to say congratulations on buying a Mark Commentary shirt. That's going to wind up at a thrift store within the next 2 months.
Or they're collector items someday.
Yeah, when one of us either gets on TMZ for having a bad Coke binge or... I remember them when Michael Sears has apparently bought 2 T-shirts. So to Michael Sears... my respect is more than any monetary gain you can get from me. But the other thing is, Jason, unlike me, is a free trial member of the WWE Network.
Yep.
I'm curious. Break it down for me. Is it worth it?
At the moment, I would say not right now, unless you are like an extremely hardcore person and haven't seen a lot of the footage.
Well, because were you overwhelmed by the library, by the selections, or?
It depends. Like, yeah, having all the pay-per-views there is kind of cool, but I was expecting to be able to go and dig into 97 Raw, those aren't on there. I know people are like, well, that shit's coming, but it's just that's the shit I want to see. Like I've seen a lot of the pay-per-views and went back and watched the ones I didn't, but
So can
it's
you not go through episode by episode of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown yet?
not yet. You can do pay-per-views, but you can't do SmackDown or anything like that.
See, the only giant flaw I see in this, and I know we're gonna get attacked for saying this, is that unless you're offering an episode by episode basis, we've all seen the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And if we haven't seen them live or on pay-per-view, we've seen them on YouTube. I mean, have you checked lately? Have you tried to look up like a full WWF pay-per-view and seen that it's been blocked, or like
I know that the guys that do this show called OSW Review, they kind of like use footage from pay-per-views and go back and review and give funny commentary on it. All their shit's been pulled, so I'd imagine most pay-per-views have been as well.
Because Nina, before I moved in, she had a Netflix account, and I never really delved in to find WWE like pay-per-views or like the home video stuff. So I don't know if any of that's been pulled immediately from Netflix, given the WWE Network.
There's still some stuff up there, but it's not as much as it once was.
So I'm assuming it's like slim pickings, like yeah.
But even that, there's really not like the documentaries that we love, like the CM Punk. It's not up there. Like, well, obviously right now, but any of the other great one, like the Orton one, like none of those are up there right now. Like there's one like revolving one. I think they had the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels rivalry DVD up there, or a snippet of it actually. It wasn't even like the full documentary. It was like the the edited for TV version.
So, and I mean, you've been sending me screenshots, you've been posting them on Twitter and stuff like that. In your opinion, right now in the early zygote stages of them unveiling, would you say like not right now it's not worth $9.99 a month, or would you say maybe like 6 months from now it would probably be worth the investment?
No, I think when you get to WrestleMania, like I'm probably not going to get it now until April, because it's like, okay, I've seen it. It's impressive. Yes, there are things that I would like, and like a Netflix, but I'm like, that's an extra $10 in my pocket because I've had it all this week and I've maybe watched it 3 or 4 times. Like, I wasn't impressed with the post show stuff. NXT was pretty good. I watched some of that, but I have a Hulu subscription already, so I can kind of watch it on there. I don't know. Like, it's just not where it needs to be in my mind yet. Like, I'll pay for it just so I can get WrestleMania when all that comes about. But right now, save your money.
Well, I think our 3 major topics this week, obviously, unlike myself, you delved into the free subscription of WWE Network. And so far, your review, it's not a bad review. It's just not the kind of review I'd expect to get from a hardcore WWE fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but it's like I have a lot of this shit already on tape or on VHS, and it's not that I won't get it. It's just it's not there for me yet. And the other thing is, if you're paying, say, in 6 months, like how they're locking you in for a 6-month contract, you're only getting 5 pay-per-views if you wait, because March doesn't have the pay-per-view in it, so you're only getting 5 if you wanted to cancel after the 6 months.
I'm assuming you'll probably, I don't want to divulge how we'll probably watch WrestleMania at your place, but it'll be on the WWE Network.
Yeah, of course it is. The fact that it's $60 for 6 months and you get all the pay-per-views is a deal, but I'm just saying I can wait a month. It's not a big deal. I'd rather, and if after 6 months I want to cancel it, I can, and I'll get an extra pay-per-view out of it.
So, in other words, Jason is not urinating into mason jars with 7-inch nails and long hair. Not so much from what I can gather from the shooting, and I won't say too much because I don't want Jason to hurt me. But we did a shooting for the show for YouTube, which I'm excited. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good. I was happy because we're branching out, trying something different. So,
and obviously we'll have more content going on there as we get further into WrestleMania season. So that, I mean, if you're a fan of the show, if you're a listener, I think it was definitely an experience that I enjoyed. I think that when it's revealed, I think a lot of our listeners will definitely, if nothing else, because if you've interacted with us on Twitter or you've listened to the show on Podomatic, you don't actually know what we looked like from a year ago.
Unless you found old footage of us somewhere.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's definitely that'll be an experience.
The first one, we could probably actually talk about it, because the first one drops Thursday, so.
Well, I mean, if you want to introduce it, I don't want to spoil your plans here.
No, yeah. We wanted to do a build up of the 30 days of WrestleMania, building up to WrestleMania 30. So March 6th is when the first video drops. We're gonna review WrestleMania, and going forward, we're gonna review every single one every day up until the event.
However, what I'm most excited for is the blooper reel, which is inevitable by the time WrestleMania 30 concludes.
Yeah, that'll come after. Yeah, well, it might be ready WrestleMania Eve, or I don't know.
We're still fine tuning, going over with a fine tooth comb, all the plans for WrestleMania 30.
Oh yeah, this is just the beginning of shit we want to do. But
on that note, though, I do want to get into Elimination Chamber because, I mean, obviously we had planned to do the show on Thursday. It didn't happen, so it's Saturday night, obviously, if you're listening. Elimination Chamber, thoughts, outcomes. We talked a little bit about it during the shooting of the 30 Days of WrestleMania. What are your overall thoughts?
I wasn't impressed. I mean, it is kind of like a glorified Monday Night Raw, but it just there was no interest in the pay-per-view besides the Shield versus the Wyatt match.
I was actually just gonna say the highlight of that night, the Shield versus the Wyatt family, just in terms of the back and forth pops, they were both, and they're two heel factions. That's the cool thing is you have 2 3-man teams that are essentially heels.
Mm-hmm.
And it was up to the crowd to decide who do we want to go over.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to differ way more than, what's going to be the WrestleMania main event. It's like, we hate those guys because they suck and we're tired of them, versus the Shield where it's like, wow, you have great characters that are awesome heels. I love watching this.
I also couldn't predict the finish of that match.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be decidedly in Roman Reigns' favor. To have Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family come out on top, I thought was really creatively an interesting move.
Mm-hmm. I think he needed the big win.
When they attacked Cena in the Chamber, but...
Yeah.
What'd you think of the Chamber match?
Fun, but ultimately I think everybody kind of knew what the outcome was going to be. And
I was really let down, actually. I actually gave my hopes up in thinking that maybe Daniel Bryan had a shot.
Mm-hmm.
However, I thought it ended beautifully with the shots at the crowd after Kane obviously jumped in and then Orton got the win.
Yeah.
It did work. For what it's worth, I thought dramatically it did work. Building to, I mean, obviously you have Daniel Bryan calling out Triple H for a match at WrestleMania 30 the following night on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
But is it a part of a bigger twist in terms of story?
It feels like there's something else here, because if the WrestleMania card that plays out is how we think it's going to play out right now, does in fact play that way out, it's lacking something.
Be grateful that your $9.99 a month gives you access to every pay-per-view. Because if you were simply paying $9.99 a month for this one pay-per-view, you will be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, there's something else here. And, I think it's evident by the Batista promo on SmackDown I just showed you.
Well, right. And obviously, I won't lie to any of our listeners. I don't really pay attention to main event or SmackDown or NXT.
I don't think you have to. I'm sorry. I'm one of those fans where it's like everything happens on Monday night, and if anything else happens on SmackDown, it was probably an accident. Somebody got hurt and they needed to take the title off of somebody.
Well, right, because it's, for what it's worth, Monday Night Raw has and will always be a live 3-hour program.
Yeah.
Or it's just live. Disregarding the 3-hour program thing, so it's a new format, but it's always been a live program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like watching an award show. I mean, do you want to watch the Oscars the night after they happen, or do you want to watch the Oscars, the Golden Globes, the VMAs the night they happen, so you can be caught off guard?
Yeah.
And then it becomes topical the next day. That's always been Monday Night Raw. For example, we knew Hulk Hogan was going to make an appearance, and what did he do? He came out, he got a pop, and he made an appearance, and he plugged the WWE Network, and then obviously the big one is Undertaker returned.
Yeah.
Now, the climate of wrestling has been rather stagnant when you mark out for a person's facial hair over their... I remember my fiance and I had kind of a long night. We came home, and I caught like the last 5 minutes of that promo, the exchange between Brock and Undertaker. And I just kept slapping my hand against, kept screaming, "He's got the goatee!" it's pathetic, but just the way he looked on Raw was enough. Again, I popped for the man's chin hair. Because again, all I kept thinking was like, it's like Ministry Undertaker, minus the Ministry and minus just, you know what I mean? Like, he looked good. He didn't look like the picture Sean showed me.
Yeah. Minus the leather skirt outfit.
I don't like. I don't understand the gimmick. Why he's still playing that out.
Yeah, the trench coat was enough.
I still think that we're primed for an like I think every time Undertaker does a Mania, because we've agreed before that we think it's not much longer before he retires, start reintroducing like older aspects of your character.
So is the goatee the first on the list?
I feel like to do a throwback to the Ministry Taker, like why not come back in some of the outfits he wore as Ministry Undertaker?
All right. With you.
I mean, I don't know. What were your thoughts on the Brock Undertaker exchange? Did it excite you for the match, or was it kind of like, too little, too late?
No, I'm kind of excited to see that. That's one of the few matches on the card where I'm like, all right, you know what? Taker delivers, Brock delivers. I want to see it. So
it was definitely an aggressive exchange. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a couple years since they've locked up, but they've had they've been involved with some of the better matches in the past, I don't know, 2-3 years. So.
Now, obviously, you've probably read the rumors about WWE considering a third, and you have stated, obviously, earlier in this program, a third participant in a triple threat scenario for the WrestleMania main event.
Mm-hmm.
Is that favorably Daniel Bryan, or could that be a lot of us just kind of wishful thinking CM Punk?
I don't know. Like, the fact that Batista dropped that promo on SmackDown and the fact we're going into Chicago, it makes me want to say Punk. Like, I don't know, overwhelmingly. And I listened to another podcast, MLW Radio, and a guy named Court Bauer brought up a great point. It has been far too long since both sides have said a single thing really regarding the Punk situation. So,
well, I mean, Archie's saying he was at that UFC event and he kind of regarded WWE like it was part of his past. But I almost feel like
that's him.
I forget who mentioned it though. I want to say it was on a dirt sheet or something, or maybe you said it because I have such a bad memory. For a guy like Punk, are you immediately going to stop talking about comic books and like movies just because you don't work for the WWE, or are you going to go silent because you're trying to protect a storyline angle?
Yeah.
Like, his Twitter has basically gone silent. Why? Like, if you left a company, like any of us do in our careers and our jobs, are you immediately going to go silent the second you leave the company, or are you going to still retain your personality in your online avatar? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be more to that.
I think there is. And you know what? And all this stops at 11:15 on Monday night because we'll have our answer.
But will we, though? Because there's part of me that kind of wants to push it back and say, we could find out 11:15 on the night of WrestleMania.
That's not right. You want to promote the show regardless. Vince McMahon knows how to promote a show. And are you going to get more buys by having Batista and Orton in the main event, or Punk, Batista, and Orton in the main event?
I got to ask you, though, what's more important, buy rates or press coverage? Because obviously you got to keep in mind, CM Punk walking out of the company, that's gotten them a lot of press coverage and TMZ coverage.
That's great. Press coverage is great, but you lost your momentum the second he walked out of WrestleMania.
Right.
Or it's gone, or at that point, the start of the show is the end of where you can bank money off of it. You can't advertise for a program in your own program.
So if we definitely see anything, you're gunning for Monday night.
And I will forfeit any right to wishful thinking towards him coming back after that.
I'll hold you to that, because I still think that, you know what, you could have a heel versus heel match and have them get booed out of the building, and something might. But they said that I can't remember now if they were expecting this past Monday to end on a cliffhanger, or the Chicago. I think it was in Chicago. They want to end on a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
What is that cliffhanger?
Come on, it's fucking Chicago. I mean, there's a fucking Twitter account to friggin' riot or take over Raw. And it's growing faster and faster each day, so
Now, in your opinion, if Punk doesn't come back, how badly do you want to see the fans hijack that Monday Night Raw?
I want him to. Now, in your opinion, though, I'll switch back to you. Is it right or wrong for fans to do that?
I think if you paid the enormous fee to get into the building, I'm a firm believer that if you paid for a ticket to get into the building, you have a right to whatever the hell you want.
Is it disrespectful to the performers?
It depends, because in cases where we've seen this, I think they've been more than respectful to the performers that deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's go back to almost a year ago, the Monday Night Raw following WrestleMania, when Dolph Ziggler got that huge pop when he cashed in. He was more than deserving of that, and he got exactly what I wanted him to get.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the cars exiting the arena honking in the the rhythm of Fandango's entrance. I think that the fans have been more than forgiving and more than respectful to the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Bless you. I think that what the company needs to do is be more than giving to the fans.
Now, do you think having a loud audience that is vocally, letting their presence known and their disgust in whatever they're seeing, does that accomplish anything?
I don't think it accomplishes much for the fans, because WWE can always write it off in a PR stunt as our fans are obnoxious. And we have this network now, and we have this free programming, and we're being more than accommodating, and they're just being rude. I think in the bigger scheme of things, they're not being disrespectful in terms of what they're getting, in terms of viability to consume.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they're being obnoxious about is, you guys have strung us along for so long. Like, I remember an age in wrestling where a program would begin and end in a specific amount of time, and it wouldn't dick us over in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I felt that way was when Mick Foley lost the Hell in a Cell match to Triple H at No Way Out, and he was supposed to retire. And then Linda McMahon brought him back for WrestleMania 2000. I thought that was the last time that it was kind of like, if it was going to happen, Mick Foley should have walked out with the title.
Mm-hmm.
Or he should have at least been given more opportunities in that WrestleMania match than the ones he was given. Because, bear in mind, Mick Foley, and he seems like a great down-to-earth guy. I've only spoken to him on the phone once when I got him lost. He seems like a great down-to-earth guy. He should have been given at least a proper farewell, in the sense that, like Edge.
Mm-hmm.
They let Edge, knowing that he was biding his time with that neck injury, retire as the World Heavyweight Champion and get more than one send-off. Arguably, Mick Foley has a much greater legacy than Edge, and I kind of felt like they kind of dicked him over.
Yeah.
I think that should have been the first and last time that the company did that to the fans. I think in the case of Daniel Bryan, if you give Daniel Bryan to Triple H, and I said this on a show prior to this, that a lot of guys in the back are saying like, oh, that's an honor. But with Daniel Bryan's just, I don't know, his momentum right now, is that really an honor, or is it still kind of burying him? I don't see Daniel Bryan walking out of that match the victor. I don't.
Now, is there a guy who takes the priority? Because it seems like the roles that Bryan is playing and the role that Punk could be playing are almost interchangeable.
Well, that's the thing too. I see Punk and Triple H at WrestleMania 30. If it has main event implications, then they know what they're doing. Like, if Punk were to get over on Triple H in a normal situation, it kind of seems like a dull victory. Whereas if Triple H says, if you win this match, I'll put you into the main event tonight, that's more than enough to get that match over with the crowd.
Yeah.
If it's like the day of, Triple H decides, well, I'm the COO, despite also being a talent, if you can beat me 1, 2, 3 shoulders to the mat tonight, I will put you in the main event at WrestleMania. Because that's almost like a Monday Night Raw thing. It's but on a bigger scale. Yeah. I think if you can kind of like goad the fans a little bit to say like, well, we're going to put Bryan in this mid-card match, but it has main event implications, then all the power to you. But if it's simply Daniel Bryan and Triple H go toe to toe, and Triple H pulls pedigree 1, 2, 3, and it's over, then the whole Punk walking out thing had to have been an angle because he's got to come out in that main event. And again, Punk's contract was supposed to be up in, I believe it was July, correct?
Yep.
So why, if Punk is really exhausted and beat up and just saying, I don't know how many more of these I have in me. I mean, like Mick Foley, is it too much to just put him in the main event? Even if he loses, which he shouldn't. But even if he loses, what do you have to? What does the company have to lose if CM Punk goes into the main event, takes the title, and retires the next night? What does the company have to lose?
Or drops it to Bryan the next pay-per-view. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
But still, even if it's like Linda McMahon did back in 2000, if Mick Foley won the title at WrestleMania and he was technically retired, he was off the payroll, and they said, we're going to do a tournament going into Backlash. Let's rehash that angle now. What if CM Punk wins the title, retires the next night? Is it really going to hurt the company if they go into the following pay-per-view in a tournament?
Yeah. No.
I mean, the following pay-per-view, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Payback or is it Extreme Rules?
I think it's Extreme Rules. I think that's been the current thing in the company now to do Extreme Rules.
Here's a better idea for WWE. You want to win your fans over again. Why not do an Extreme Rules tournament for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? I mean, disagree with that? I mean,
I don't know. I think if Punk comes back, he'll stick around for a while. I don't see him coming back just for Mania. He might come back until July and then drop it if he even won it.
I don't see him being the longest reigning champion again, but I do see him holding. I do see him keeping sort of his agreement with the company. Like, I'll stay till July, and I'll hold the strap till then. But you got to have me dropping someone. Unlike the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels scenario, I think that you'd have to honor Punk saying, I will only drop it to this guy and this guy only.
Yeah.
So if Punk, hypothetically were to return on Raw, where are you putting him? Are you waiting till 11:05 when we're all on the edge of our seat during a main event match, being like, oh my God, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Where do you put him?
It has to be the very end. And then somebody had said, and then that's the carryover to get you onto the network. Hey, we gotta go. Time's up on USA. Follow us on the WWE Network. We're gonna have more on the story. End of Raw.
Right.
And then you got a camera crew running out to, get a comment for CM Punk. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm curious how this will all work for you. I know being Mr. Wrestling fan is. I think, Twitter will be interesting Monday because I'm more or less going to be playing off of you and thinking, where's Jason's head's at right now? Because I'm not a cynic, but I'm still definitely, on the fence of, I wouldn't want to build my hopes up too high, but I'll definitely feed off you. The same night that the Slammy Awards having a Kane return with the mask, we were having a conversation. We were in two separate places. I was in the radio station. You were at home. And he was saying, did you not notice the pyro on the turnbuckles? Another night like that would be awesome because that's the kind of night that makes us fans.
Yeah.
Because you're with your buddy and he's holding out faith and you're like, nah, it's not going to happen. They're going to blow it. They always do. You have the one guy that's just like, no, man, they're going to come through. I promise they'll come through. It's a good feeling when they finally do.
Yeah. I'm hopeful because this changes WrestleMania in a good way if it comes true.
Now, some of the other matches on the card I read was the unification of the U.S. and the Intercontinental title between Big E and Dean Ambrose. Thoughts?
I don't hate it, but I don't know. I'm okay with the U.S. title. I think it's too soon because you could put more emphasis on both titles, but
I will. So it would be cool if we went back to an era of wrestling where there was strictly the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship and the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, that I'm not. That's why I kind of like the idea, but I think you have a lot of guys that, it takes them a while to get over, and sometimes using that as a prop, when they use it properly, can be effective.
Now, Goldust and Cody was actually rumored to be on the bill.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it, because I feel like it should have been a long build-up story, and the pay-per-view should have kind of bleeded into it, and it didn't really go that way.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm on the fence. I know they can perform, and it would be great, but it hasn't sparked my interest of something I want to see at this moment right now.
Now the last one was it was going to be Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins against the two Wyatt family members in a return tag team match.
I'm not into it. I mean, it's missing two components where it was like this isn't the full teams. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. It's essentially the Punk and Bryan tag match from Survivor Series, like how I view it. You know, it's just missing that extra element of interest. But I don't know. Maybe they do a 4-way tag title deal with the.
I know. I didn't read a damn thing about the Outlaws in the tag team contention.
I don't know.
I mean, are we even going to see the tag titles defended? I mean, that's a big one.
I would think so. They like to somehow include almost everything. But I don't know.
I almost feel like there's more stock in defending all titles at Night of Champions than there is at WrestleMania at this point.
Even that's not true though anymore though.
True. Yeah. I mean, Divas title, I think it would make sense to have AJ Lee against Snuka.
Yeah, but I've also seen, all the Total Divas, which, you know what? I'm not opposed to.
Right.
Just just put it all out there. Maybe we'll get lucky and see something good.
Well, I do want to address the Hall of Fame again because I did, and I didn't mean it in like a depressing way, but you had pointed out to me the night of Elimination Chamber, Jake the Snake Roberts does indeed, in fact, have cancer.
Yeah.
And that was like a really chilling video to watch on DDP's page where he addresses and acknowledges how afraid he was.
Yeah.
And it seemed kind of shitty because here's a guy, and I remember you gave me the exact quote. I don't know if you're doing that for me or you were just kind of repeating it, but did you understand what the direct quote Jake gave on Twitter?
To paraphrase, I think it was, "Don't worry about this guy. Worry about all the poor kids who do have this disease, and pray for them. The snake will be just fine." Something to that extent.
Right.
So,
I mean, I guess all I want to address in the matter is just he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm going through it right now with my dad for the second time, and they're giving him a year.
yeah.
I mean, but that's the variables being some of the treatments he's going to go through. I wanted to hashtag, but I ran out of room on Twitter. But Marks Against Cancer. It sucks when you see it in your own personal life, but it sucks even more when your fake wrestling heroes have it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake, as we know since last year, Jake's a guy I've been pulling for a while now.
Yeah.
And to see the smile on his face when he went on Old School Raw, and just to see how much he still loves the business and how much he can really deliver when they give him the opportunity. I guess really all I wanted to address with the Hall of Fame thing was just I'm pulling for him, and I really hope that by the time he gets to the Hall of Fame, he's that healthy, smiling Jake the Snake Roberts that we've seen before.
If he, he'll pull himself out there on his hands and knees if he has to. So he's gonna be there, and he's gonna look fine and look great and sound great. So that's a moment for him. He's wanted. So.
Well, he's earned it, I think. And you can say all you want about Jake the Snake if you've seen Beyond the Mat or you just know enough about the guy. No, he was not the best human being in the world. He was not. He was a drunk. He was a drug addict. He neglected his family. He did a lot of things wrong. But, for a guy, I mean, I just think that at this point, the Hall of Fame is all about redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Let these guys come back. That's what wrestling, that's what entertainment, that's what pop culture, that's what society is all about. Build them up, break them down, build them back up again.
Absolutely.
And I think when Jake crawls on his hands and knees, cancer or no cancer, to get his moment, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of really special moments in the Hall of Fame. I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact that it's rumored Scott Hall's a lock.
Yeah.
Or that, people are saying that it was Scott Hall's a lock, Kevin Nash's a lock, and Hulk Hogan's back, and WO may be the first faction inducted.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're looking at here is you got a lot of guys and have done a lot of things, good and bad, that are going to be going into the Hall of Fame. And you know what? I think you got a lot of great speeches ahead of you. I think you got a lot of great humanity, and you got a lot of great respect for the business ahead of you.
Oh, yeah. That night's gonna be fun to watch.
I may get the network specifically to see that unedited because, well, obviously, my favorite wrestler in the entire fucking world, Ultimate Warrior, I've not been shy about this. That's a huge moment, like, for me. Like, that's something I would love to mark out with other marks. It's just like, dude, Ultimate Warrior's going in. Did you ever see this coming? Like, I think second to that, or third to that, rather, is going to be Taker and Macho Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I will not mark out when The Rock goes in. I won't mark when Triple H goes in, but I will mark the fuck out when Undertaker goes in.
Absolutely.
Warrior is like number one with a bullet, though. When he goes in, man, I want to see that because it's the unpredictability factor. Obviously, he's on good terms with the company if he's finished an entire DVD collection and one that isn't necessarily like lambasting him professionally or sort of like, you know what I mean, naysaying him creatively, but
twisting facts.
Right. You know, it's not gonna be slanderous, and it's not gonna. I think a lot of it's gonna be redeeming of the Warrior character, not necessarily the person, not Jim the person, but I think the character.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you can say about the person playing the character, I think that character was so invaluable to that company. It's not even funny.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got guys like Jake. He was an invaluable character, but at this point, everyone knows his story going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, on a personal note, would love to see a cancer survivor go through hell and back and still get their moment in the end.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, as somebody that personally, and I shouldn't really talk about it all that much on our show to like bum out our listeners, but it's something I'm going through, and it's something that sucks. A lot of sleepless nights and a lot of aggravation, a lot of frustration, a lot of taking out stuff you're feeling on people you shouldn't take them out on because you're scared. When one of your favorite wrestlers is going through it at the same time someone you love is going through it, it's you know, it's the correlation of art and life. You know what I mean? Like, wrestling's an escape when you realize that these people are just human. Like, for example, in Jason one of those, Harold Ramis passed away this week.
Yeah.
He played Egon, my favorite fucking movie of all time, Ghostbusters. Can I tell you how fucking bummed out I was to hear that?
Yeah.
And I equated it, my sixth grade English teacher was like, "Are you being a little dramatic, Eddie?" I equated it to like people when they grew up with the Beatles, when John Lennon was killed or when George Harrison passed away. Like, it's when you get older, and I've talked about on the show again, nostalgia. Like, you never picture these people dying because they're not really human. You don't really picture them going away and never coming back. Like, in wrestling, you're used to people getting in fights with Vince or something not working out politically, and they go away for like 6 months to 10 years, and then they come back. He's never coming back. And I think that's the thing, too, with the show that I like, is that at least we address the fact that we're old marks. We're not 16-year-old kids, you know?
I'm with you.
And, I mean, I think that's the cool thing about finding other people who agree with us. And they're just like, oh, man, I feel the same fucking way you guys do.
Yeah.
But I think that's – the Hall of Fame has, at this point, has almost kind of overshadowed WrestleMania. The Hall of Fame is just – there's more at the Hall of Fame than there is at WrestleMania at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm curious to see who fills, I don't want to say mid-card of the Hall of Fame, but, you know, the undercard of that show, because
I really, really, really wanted Andy Kaufman, but if we get Cyndi Lauper, I'm going to fucking mark out.
Yeah.
If anyone deserves it as much, if not, I won't say more, as much as Andy Kaufman, because they're both very strong in my mind. I think Cyndi, if Andy doesn't get it, Cindy's got to get it.
Yeah. Andy will get in there eventually. I mean, I know we play the ad for Andy's Army, but if it doesn't happen this year, it will happen at some point. Has to.
Well, in regards to Andy's Army, I think that the person or the people behind that can at least respect the fact that if Andy doesn't get it, it should be Cyndi Lauper. It should be someone who, I don't know, just positively affected the climate of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, a fucking Drew Carey, I can see being pissed over. But, you know, Cyndi Lauper had a big, you know, effect on wrestling, especially in the early 80s.
Well, and I don't want to give away our forthcoming programming with YouTube, but I had mentioned in the first WrestleMania Cup we did it was the perfect merging between MTV and professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was all about characters, and it was all about, pageantry. Who summed up pageantry music better than Cyndi Lauper? I mean, naturally you could say Michael Jackson or maybe Madonna, but in terms of like a character singer, it was Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
And I think you already have Hulk Hogan in, you already have Piper in, you already have. I think the next step in terms of a Hall of Fame is now let's get the reality wrestlers in. Let's get the Scott Halls, and let's get, the Kevin Nashes and the Ultimate Warriors and the Macho Man and Undertaker. I'm just more excited because I want to see Undertaker break character and just be Mark Calloway.
Yeah.
And not have it be such a big fucking deal at this point. But I mean, going forward here, because I mean, I feel like, holy crap, we just like flew through all our topics on the show. I mean, it's tough because WrestleMania season's tough because you got the topical stuff, like obviously Daniel Bryan in the main event or against Triple H, you have obviously Undertaker. But we know where Undertaker lies now. It's no longer a question.
Yeah.
We know who his opponent's going to be. Do we know exactly how it's going to turn out? Not really, because I think the Undertaker Brock thing should have happened 5 years ago. But we have it now, and Undertaker's obviously sporting a new look now, so it'll be a new sort of cultivation in that character. Who the hell knows? I think, though, if you specifically stick to Randy Orton, Batista, main event WrestleMania 30, you're going to lose a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not going to matter to their bottom line because their bottom line is, again, goaded by younger kids who are Cena fans. But, I mean, you're putting Cena, rumored in a match with Bray Wyatt. Cena's a non-entity at WrestleMania.
Yeah. I mean, that should be fun. And the way I thought, and I kind of hope that they end that match, is to do something where you take Hogan and perhaps you even put Austin out there and they do like the 3 generations of WWE, toasting at the end of the match.
Well, because that's the thing is Austin or Steve Williams, the person's respect for Cena.
Yeah. And I think that's enough to get over, his lack of respect for Hogan.
Well, again, I think you can go on all night and day about how you feel about Cena character-wise, but personally, as an athlete and as a worker, I've said it time and time again, I don't like Cena's character, but I respect the shit out of him as a workhorse. Now, I've heard rumors about him as a person being from the local Massachusetts area. I know tons of people. I just heard a story the other day about a coworker I have who has a friend who blew John Cena's brother. And that was the bragging right, was I gave a blowjob John Cena's brother.
If you haven't guessed, folks, the bar is set really, really low in Massachusetts.
Oh, indeed. But that's not to stop any of you from coming to Massachusetts getting Kelly's with Jason and I. Or buying a t-shirt representing Mark's commentary, because we will redeem Massachusetts incrementally in a very significant way.
One blowjob at a time.
I don't know who's giving the blowjobs, you or me. I'm kind of hoping it's you.
Piranha Man.
I don't know if I could, even with the mask, I don't know if I could. My fiance is sitting right next to me. And she's looking up wedding venues, so she's not even paying attention. She just shakes her head at me. She doesn't even know who Piranha Man is. And she quotes Finding Nemo. One of these nights, I'm just going to have to, like, when she's in a deep sleep, just lean up, Piranha Man, and just freak her out. Although I've already been told that if I wear my Michael Myers mask in the bedroom and wake from a dead sleep, it's over. Those are some implications that will end in a no contest wedding-wise.
The marriage is over or you're over?
Well, it depends how you say I'm over. Because if I'm over, then I'm over with the people. If I'm over with her, that's a very bad Eddie gets fat, Elvis dies in a toilet sort of scenario. Shoots a TV screen every time Robert Goulet. God, Jason. We're going back to the whole Andy Kaufman, Memphis, Jerry Lawler thing. The stream of consciousness on Marks on Commentary. This is a very deep episode of Marks on Commentary, where Eddie's drinking and listening to an 80s radio station while his fiance looks up weddings, and Jason's just like, I'm recording. I don't know what I'm doing here. We should have done this Thursday.
You get listeners. As long as they're listening, I
Fair.
can't complain.
Hey, I can complain if they're not buying T-shirts, okay? So if Jason wants to plug the we need ads is what we need.
No, we need to do that. But yeah, prowrestlingtees.com/marks on commentary. We have 4 different designs up there. $19.99 plus shipping and handling. Come on, support us. I know there's 250.
You had to come on. As soon as you had to come on, I'm like, oh, now it's a charity thing.
Yeah. But seriously, like, there's 250 of you guys out there. You're getting free programming. I'm not bitching. I love doing this, but, buy a t-shirt. It helps us out.
Yes, helps us out. Do we have any Twitter questions this week?
I don't know if I put that out in the Twitter sphere.
The Twitter sphere. Well, I can plug the number, 978-276-9418. I realize a lot of you fuckers are awkward and shy. You could not get 2 more awkward and shy people than Jason and I. We do a fucking podcast that lasts an hour and some change a week. I don't want to hear it, all right? I don't want to fucking hear that shit. I want some goddamn voicemails. I want some praise for Piranha Man potentially becoming a Hall of Famer. And it's not even in the sense that he'll be inducted. He'll just show up and demand his award.
And put his photo on the Kowloon's wall.
That's going to happen. You wait and see. I haven't been to the Kowloons in a while, but if Piranha Man comes with me one night, if he's available and there's a getaway car ready, you have some Kowloon implications. Kowloon photo switch implications there, my friend.
Happening. And then it's off to Kelly's.
Oh my god, I love me some Kelly. The photo you posted of Nina and I wearing the Sin Cara and Kane mask. I was actually wearing the Kane mask when we went to the Kelly's drive-in and I got my food. Why the fuck not is my answer to that.
I will have Kelly's on my cheat day, so.
Oh my god. Well, we've never talked about it. Jason is on the John Cena diet.
Sorta.
Jason is trying to diet for. Is it for the wedding or is it for the wedding? Because I
Just
have
in general. I mean, it's kind of like a precursor.
Photo. I've yet to receive a save the date photo from you, sir.
I don't. We haven't done those yet.
I'm gonna be doing them probably before you, and you've had your wedding plan.
No, like you're setting shit up. We're like lazy, and it's coming this year.
You better not call Hillary lazy on this show. She will beat your ass, sir.
She will.
If I get her lined up good enough, and she knows where she can get the good wine, even though I think she was drinking the wine you guys gave us, she'll get lined up. And
oh yeah,
there's your WrestleMania main event match right there: Hillary versus Jason in their living room.
Yep, she don't need wine to kick my ass.
Jason, I think we're in a very humble place where neither of us have fiancés that need a certain amount of alcohol to whip our asses.
We should just beat each other up since we can't, hit women.
I'm still waiting for the opportunity to be able to steal your light heavyweight title and put it in our fridge. Jason, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your title is?
Son of a bitch.
How dare you?
Yeah.
But again, I'm absolutely stoked about what Jason put together for the YouTube on Mark's Commentary on YouTube. I'm really stoked. Again, Jason was getting annoyed. He was like, "Do you have to do that every episode?" But no, we film them day to day. We didn't film them in one shot. What are you talking about, Eddie?
Multiple days, many hours in the studio each day.
But no, I'm looking forward to just people's thought. Like, if you've attended a WrestleMania event, we would love to hear from you. 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. Because I've never been to a wrestle. I've never been. You, as of last year, can now be that guy. Even though it wasn't in Boston, you can say, I've been at a fucking WrestleMania.
Yeah. That's exactly why I did it, so I can have bragging rights over you, Eddie.
You know what, Jason? I hate you. Jason does anything. No, that's cool, though. Like, we were texting each other the night of, and you were texting me about Undertaker's entrance. Like, I just loved hearing about it. Like, because I physically could not be there. Like, I would love to hear from people that were at fucking the first WrestleMania or even the third one. Or, we have our personal favorites. I'd love to hear from people who went to WrestleMania 14 in Boston.
Yeah. What was it like? What was happening? What were people talking about?
Do they have like souvenirs? Like, I would love to get people on our Twitter posting like souvenirs they have from WrestleMania.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you have cool souvenirs from WrestleMania that you got there, tweet us them and I'll retweet them for you.
But overall, I mean, in regard to tonight's show, because I mean, I'll be honest, we don't really know we didn't have an agenda, we didn't have an itinerary for tonight because, again, it's WrestleMania season. It's pretty much all up in the air at this point.
Yeah, anything can really happen. You know, the main event isn't as crystal clear as WWE wants to say it is right now.
Well, is that exciting to you? I guess I'll end the show on that note because we're getting close to the end here. Is it more exciting to have no fucking idea of what's going to happen than when we were in the studio a year ago and we could pretty much predict where it was going?
Yeah. It's exciting, but the excitement scares me in the fact that if it doesn't turn out in a way that's favorable to the fans, it's going to be a real big letdown.
Yeah.
And if that's the match that you go with, then there's a big letdown on everybody's behalf. And
well, again, regarding the Dolph Ziggler promo you sent me, like, why bring back Dolph in that scenario if you weren't kind of teasing the audience to think like we're trying to build him again?
Maybe, but I took it as they're trying to say like, I'm Batista and I'm gonna go through every single one of your heroes. Now, who do the fans attach to? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Do we have heroes? Like a top 5 of 2014? Do you have heroes in this era?
I don't know, but I mean like fan heroes where it was like, okay, there's Daniel Bryan, obviously. There's Dolph Ziggler. Who else is on that list? At one point, Zack Ryder was.
I'm adding Damian Sandow.
Okay. I'll buy into that. I'm just trying to think of who else. I mean, obviously, Punk is one of those guys. Does he come back to stand up for those guys? I don't know. I don't know how they play it off.
We wrap up the show by doing this. 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. Top 5 heroes of 2014, go. Any top 5, heel or face, just heroes in terms of locker room. Who do you got?
Are you asking me or the fans?
I'm asking both of you, actually. The fans and you.
Brian is atop that list. Undertaker would probably be on that list. Who else? Jericho, but does it have to be guys that are there right now? That's.
I'm thinking more current. Like,
yeah.
All right, shot out of the cannon. If I had to go top 5, I'd go Punk, even though he technically walked out. Brian is an obvious candidate. Damian Sandow.
He's a contender.
He's a contender. Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
And the 5th being Cody Rhodes.
And then, I don't know, maybe even some of the Shield members.
You know what? Roman Reigns is big on my list, right? But Bray Wyatt, that's another thing I can't. He's come a long way from Husky Harris.
Oh, yeah. He shed that image.
I mean, I think potentially he could have the lock on one of the best modern day heel characters out there.
Oh, yeah. You know, give it, the fact, it is good news that Cena is working with him. Like, I'll give him credit. Like, he can make that guy, and I hope he does and doesn't.
But then, Cesaro, we're totally just blanking on, because Cesaro, I liked him coming in from the early going. And again, that list is ongoing though. There's a lot of younger guys in there that, oh god, like for days I could talk about individually who I like and why I like them. I'm really let down with Sandow though, because I just think the company needs to give him. Same with Dolph. I think they need to give him more of an opportunity.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, again, 978-276-9418. Top 5 rounded out modern day, wrestlers. Who do you back? Like, you're seeing a lot of those, Wyatt family T-shirts. I mean, it's funny because you would think like, what did they see in the Wyatt family? Obviously something. There's got to be a glimmer of something in there. Yeah. Is it because they're like almost like the modern day ministry, or like what is it about the Wyatt family that makes people pop?
It's just different. I think that's the big thing. Is like there's a lot of stuff in wrestling is the same, and it's like you look at them and it's like, wow, that's nothing like. I can't be like, well, that's just like this.
Well, obviously, before we wrap up the show again, 978-276-9418. at MO Commentary. We should be tweeting on Monday. I didn't get a chance this week, and I apologize. I was planning to take over Twitter. More than likely be a better opportunity to do it this Monday.
I don't think you missed much on Monday. This past Monday, so
content-wise, it really wasn't a lot going on. I think the real gold mine for Twitter, or just for wrestling fans, is going to be this Monday in Chicago.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, for a future show, because again, Jason and I were kind of winging it this week because we both had obligation.
Yep.
Show, but again, the climate of wrestling is so ambiguous right now in terms of what's really going on.
I think Monday marks a change if a change is happening. That's how I view Monday.
Well, we do have some stuff, heading your way in the forthcoming week. So
yeah, check our YouTube page out, youtube.com/marksOnCommentary. Thursday is when the first video will get uploaded. And then every day following leading up to WrestleMania.
And then obviously we have our t-shirts we're trying to promote.
Yep. ProWrestlingTees.com/MarksOnCommentary.
I mean, in the meantime, again, call that voicemail line, message us on Twitter. Like, I want to hear more from the people and the thing with this show is I want to hear more I want Twitter to be less prominent than the show is. I want to hear more interaction, be it on Twitter in regard to the show, more relevant to the show than it is just, I know Jason talks to a lot of you every day and, you're committed like that. I think that's awesome, but I would like to see a lot of that fan commitment and relevance to the show.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
Don't be afraid. Like, we're not gonna. We love when people talk to us. That's the thing. It makes us feel like we're doing something. I know there's at least 250 people out there a week that are listening.
And then there's again Michael Sears bought 2 t-shirts. Obviously, Michael Sears, is a fan.
Absolutely.
Who's willingly going to spend $19.95 plus shipping and handling on a shirt unless they think like, hey, you know what? I can get behind these guys.
At Big Jim Sports is another one. And then, of course, Catherine, who are the people that purchase t-shirts. Huge shout out to them.
And again, Catherine will be on the show again in some capacity. At the time, it wasn't really working for the format of what we want to do it, but...
if you haven't seen, I posted it online. She is now doing like a video podcast for CZW. I'll post it again, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, we'll have originally when we had planned to do Thursday, we're gonna have Sean back. If those of you remember the Forrest Gump voices, and Sean's a very eccentric and interesting person in terms of what he can do in terms of impressions, but he's also been a long-standing fan of wrestling. Mm-hmm. He was, for me, one of the first, other than Jason, people I can relate to in terms of talking about wrestling, and I'm eager to get him back on this show.
Absolutely. And even looking further ahead, we've had a couple brief email conversations with somebody who worked with Andy Kaufman while he was in wrestling. So
now, do we want to divulge it? Because me and you had a brief conversation about that. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Andy Kaufman fan. In therapy, I was the first to diagnose myself as having Andy Kaufman syndrome. Much to the elation and laughter of the person who was trying to analyze me. I would love to talk to anyone who's associated with Andy Kaufman in any way, shape, or form, because I think he was a genius of comedy, but also I think regarding how he felt about the sport of professional wrestling is deserving of a Hall of Fame induction. Never mind just mention on this show any chance we get to say, I'm really looking forward to talking to anybody who was associated with him personally and who is still a modern wrestling fan, but also, we could wax rhapsodic about how would Andy feel about what's going on in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
You can't be presumptuous with the dead, but you can certainly have a lot of fun with it. So on that note, rather, if we get that guest on, I will absolutely be all for it. They are more than welcome if they're listening. We're ready when you are, my friend.
Yep.
So I can't guarantee we'll be the greatest interviewers in the history of interviews, but I certainly think we'll get the best out of you, and we'll
talk to you like real people. We don't, we're not going to be like, so what was Andy Kaufman like?
If I ask you what Andy Kaufman was like, it's more or less in a personal situation where I don't give a shit about his fame. I don't give a shit about his notoriety. I want to know deep down, like, how to the very core of him did he love wrestling? How much? And what were his thoughts on the product at the time?
Yeah.
And, to speculate, if Andy were still with us, presumably that he is in fact dead and not, hiding out somewhere having faked his death.
He becomes the third WrestleMania opponent.
Yeah. So, on that note, 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. Who's going to WrestleMania 30 to face Orton and Batista? Because I guarantee you it is not going to be the two of them. I think Jason and I can agree with that. This is not going to be a singles bout.
It would be an epic mistake.
I think it'd be an epic. I think it'd be epic and costly. Very costly and detrimental to the network.
Yep.
So, again, 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
And again, we have YouTube content forthcoming, and we want to hear from you. So, till then, Mark's Commentary. We'll see you later.
Never hangs around.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hey, wrestling fans and freaks alike. I am the Information Highway's last living outlaw. My name is the Masked Tweeter. I hail from parts unknown. I am here today to deliver to you breaking news that's going to put you in a headlock. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stop the presses. Get the president on the horn. This is a big one, folks. I am joining forces with Andy's Army.
Andy's Army.
To get Andy Kaufman the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame Induction Award. Think about it. You, me, the rest of Andy's Army. Together we can collaborate and make this happen, folks. I don't have to tell you, how cool would it be to play a small part in getting the legendary comedian Andy Kaufman inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2014. Wherever you visit online, I want you to hashtag AK4 WWE HOF 2014. Let me say it again. Hashtag AK4 WWE HOF 2014. Wherever you go, Facebook, Twitter, I want you to hashtag it. I want you to tell your friends. I want you to tell your family. I want you to stop people on the street, people you don't even know. And I want you to say, hey, let's put Andy Kaufman in the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2014. I know you can do it. Remember, hashtag AK4 WWE HOF 2014. And don't forget to visit me on Twitter at MaskTweeterX.